Skipping 101. That's something I'm very familiar with. I love to do. I love to skip. And the evolution at Lew's and Strike King is to make baits specifically designed for skipping. Now, you can do anything with them, but they're designed to be able, if you're presented with that situation where you need to skip a bait, you can do it. Fish love shade, so anything that creates shade, being able to get a lure to them, is critical to catch them fish. So we've designed complete systems from the baits to the rods to the reels to really allow you to learn and be a better skipper and to catch more bass. The better you can cast, the more bass you're gonna catch. It don't matter what bait you're throwing. So let's start with the baits. Number one was the jig. You know, that was the first thing we designed, was the Strike King skipping jig. And if we really dove into the specifics of it, what makes it a good skipping jig? The skirt's not too thick of a skirt. It's got a screw lock keeper so you don't have to glue your trailer on. I really like a raised bug for skipping. It's got the perfect hook in it. It's got the right diameter hook. You really need to skip with fluorocarbon. So the hook's not too big that when you hit something it's gonna bend over, because you're always hitting stuff when you skip things some out of sight. But it's not too light that it's gonna open up, or it's not too light that it's gonna bend, it's gonna open up, but it's not too heavy that you gotta use braid to be able to get a hook through those fish. So the hook is really the key to the Strike King skipping jig. It just skips really well and it hooks them. Now, color selection wise, if I'm gonna imitate a shad, if I'm swimming it, I'm gonna use a white. If I wanna imitate a brim, either fishing swimming it or fishing it on the bottom, I'm gonna use a green pumpkin type. If I want to imitate a crawdad, then I'm gonna use the green pumpkin oranges. We got several different colors that will match any situations. We got the black and blue and Texas crawl, which is more for that brackish type water situation. So select your color and what type of bait fish you're trying to imitate. We got a color selection that's gonna cover any situation really. So the jig, two sizes we have them in. We have a half and a 3/8. I really like the half. The half's gonna skip a little bit better than a 3/8, but there's certain situations in super shallow water that I will use the 3/8. Now, we're gonna save the reel for last, but on to the rod. The rod is specifically designed for skipping. We went through that. You know, I've went through all of that in a previous video. So the rod specifically designed for skipping. The reel, we haven't talked about the reel. Never before has a reel been designed specifically for skipping. It's something I'm really proud of. And I'm not big on the word game changer, but Kevin Van Dam called it a game changer. This thing will help you skip better. It will help you learn to skip. It comes with a super shallow spool. Plenty of line to fish all day. I use this in competition. The line shortage is no issue at all. We've created a knot slot in there so you could use a little bit of line. What creates a backlash? A backlash is created when line comes from deep in the spool up to the top, and that creates messes. It creates headaches. It creates us looking for Advil. We tried to eliminate that with the skipping pitch and reel, and we've pretty much done that. If you do get a little backlash, it's easy to pick out, and then you can go on about your fishing. But man, you can almost skip this reel without even putting your thumb on the spool. It really is that good. If you're gonna learn to skip, if you wanna be a better skipper, and this whole setup, if I had to pick one that just stood out, it would be the reel. I always skip with fluorocarbon. I use 20-pound Contra fluorocarbon line pretty much all the time. Bigger line is actually going to skip better. You know, you may think that like 15, 17 might skip a little better, but it don't. The bigger the line, it's going to skip a little better. 20 is perfect. It's got the low stretch so I can get the hook in the fish and get him out from wherever he's at. So 20-pound fluorocarbon is key for me in any skipping scenario. Transitioning over to the buzz bait, much of the same. 20-pound Contra line is what I'm going to skip with. I actually, if I know I'm going to skip a lot, I'll use my skipping rod on the skipping buzz bait. So I'm not going to harp on the reel, but as you can see, I'm using the reel. This dude is, as Kevin said, a game changer. It's really that good for skipping. The skipping buzz bait is something that's really unique that we just came out with. Another thing that I'm proud of, anytime, you know, I would skip a buzz bait, I'd hit stuff, it'd bend over, or just catching fish on a buzz bait, your bait would open up. And once it opens once, it weakens it, not to the point that it's gonna break, but to the point that it doesn't stay in perfect position. And to be able to skip, you need your buzzbait to stay in perfect position, just like that, where the bait hides the blade and you're able to skip it, slam out of sight. And that's the reason we put this very unique wire holder that holds this thing perfectly in place. We call this the skipping buzzbait. That's what it was designed for. I can skip this dude slam out of sight, places we've only been able to put a jig, places fish haven't seen a buzzbait. It's a very different technique that fish haven't seen a lot, but you can use this buzzbait anywhere. You fish it over grass, you catch one, there's no trying to get your buzzbait back perfect. It stays perfectly in place. And plastics have been the craze on buzzbaits for several years now. We have a barbed lead system in here that holds your plastic perfectly in place. You can't even hardly pull the plastic off. So whether you're gonna use the Rage Swimmer, a frog, whatever you wanna use, this is gonna hold whatever you wanna use. The buzzbait's gonna stay perfectly in place. You're gonna be able to catch a lot of fish. I am so excited about this skipping buzzbait and the potential that it has to be the end-all be-all buzzbait, any situation. The Strike King skipping buzzbait, I'm really excited about that. So going through the complete setup, the jigs, the buzzbaits, skipping, you know, if I had to pick one, the buzzbait, it almost gets me. It almost gets me because it's so unique with this wire keeper that holds it in place all day long and skips so good. But this reel, man, this reel is the deal. If you don't have your a lose Strike King skipping, pitching reel, you really need to try one. It's an awesome reel. Skipping 101 at Strike King and Lose, we've tried to put together a complete setup and we got it. From the reel to the rod to the baits, we got anything you need to learn and be a better skipper. So check them out. I hope this helps and I hope you get the same satisfaction I do when you skip a bait slam out of sight.